Hello and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. I'll be guest hosting today. Ebuka Obiuchendu definitely sends his greetings. So much has happened this last week, but I'll be sharing a brief highlight with you. 5 out of the 39 abducted students in Kaduna State have regained their freedom. Also, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo decorated the Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, and in that same week, we had yet another jailbreak in Nigeria. This time around, 1,844 inmates escaped a correctional facility in Owerri, Imo State. Now, the plot twist to this particular story is that that particular correctional facility is close to a police station which was burnt and also close to the government house, which leads me to the discourse for today: insecurity in Nigeria. Joining me in the studio, I have a criminologist and a security expert, Mr. OSAJIE.
Thank you.
DICKSON OSAJIE, welcome to the show.
Nice being here. Thank you.
All right, so let's just dive in to it. We've seen a rise in kidnapping. We've seen school children being abducted in Nigeria. We've seen inmates escaping prison. What would you make of the security situation in Nigeria currently, and why is it so bad?
Well, for me, I think we are suffering from a multi-dimensional threat, and this multi-dimensional threat is affecting our strategic center of gravity. In the sense that, we have everyday threats, we have potentially strategic threat, and we have strategic threat, Now, this threat has migrated from everyday threat to strategic threat. Now, strategic threat is a situation whereby you have criminal elements hitting hard on our security agent, hitting hard on our government infrastructure, and so on. For me, when you look into a risk analysis of our great nation, Nigeria, you observe that the state of insecurity is on the high rise, the threat level is on the high rise, and what we need to do at this moment is for us to go back to the drawing board, because if we don't go back to the drawing board and analyze the root cause analysis of all these criminal activities, I think we are really going to lose our value in the international community. Yeah, because for me, from the east, west, south, and north, the threat is on the high rise from the insurgency and terrorism in the north, while kidnapping in the south, and southeast, and also other criminal activities. I think these guys, they've seen the vulnerability of our security agents, Not that our security agents are not capable to withstand this threat, but for me, I think that we're suffering from political will and a form of taking this threat as a kind of as an intentional threat against the country. So I will advise our government to carry out a risk analysis of what is happening in Nigeria, because if you don't prioritize your risk, you will not be able to apply mitigation factors, because when you prioritize your risk, you'll be able to apply hierarchy of control so that you'll be able to bring down those risks step by step. But if we keep on from the east, west, south, and north attacking this security threat, we're not going to get it right. And that is why the military needs to go back to the drawing board.
Okay, so we'll talk about the root causes and going back to the drawing board in a bit. Okay. But I want to quickly connect with another security expert, Madam KEMI, or OKENYODO. I will be connecting with her online in a bit. So while we're waiting for Madam KEMI to join us, let's quickly dive into the root cause that you talked about. So I noticed that since the pandemic, the insecurity has sort of just, skyrocketed. Not to blame the pandemic for it, but I'm just saying that we talk about the jailbreaks. We had like 4 jailbreaks, all right? We had one in Edo State, and recently we had one in Owerri, where 1,844 inmates. So if you take a number of all the jailbreaks, we're talking about close to 2,000 criminals roaming around the streets. What is the implication of that for us as a country and, Nigerian citizens in general?
Well, you see, there's something we're not addressing in our climb here in Nigeria. We're not looking at, we are not looking at police brutality. You understand what I'm saying? Because from the administration of criminal justice system, the police is the first point of contact. The judiciary is the second point of contact. the prison is the third point of contact. You understand that these are the administration of criminal justice system, and the essence of this institution is to, curtail with crime and punishment. Here, the spate of punishment here in Nigeria, I don't think it's effective enough, because punishment is very essential in mitigating the spate of insecurity. We're also suffering from judicial brutality. We're also suffering from prison brutality. We're suffering from ethnocentric brutality as well. We're suffering from educational brutality. We're suffering from religious brutality, a lot of brutalities. And our youth are so hardworking. We have one of the best youth in the whole world. But for me, I think the police and the court and the prison needs to synergize. When the police apprehend a criminal, the court is the next point of contact. On getting to the court, you see that these criminal elements sometimes find their way out from justice after 6 months or 3 months. They are not being awarded proper punishment. The judiciary is supposed to represent righteousness. And when the judiciary represents righteousness, criminal elements that find themselves in the courtyard would definitely be punished. And when they get to prison, they will have to go and face the price for their crime. You understand what I'm saying? But when they get to prison, they come out more hardened and more of a hardened criminal, because the environment within the prison yard is not conducive, because the essence of punishment is not to revenge. The essence of punishment is to rehabilitate, reintegrate, and reform the criminal. But coming back to your question, we'll have to look at it holistically, because for us to have a jailbreak, that tells you that the target, the perimeters of the prison is vulnerable, because I don't think you're supposed to break into any prison in Nigeria that easy. And that's why we need to look at target hardening. Target hardening is very essential in our prison yard, because this is a place that houses criminals. And when criminals are being housed in such a place, you need to put in concentric cycles, that is defense in depth. It must not be so easy for a criminal or some group of hoodlums to come and break the prison and just cut away with criminals. You need to pass through a stage. When you succeed that stage, you go to another stage. When you succeed that stage, before you get to the first stage, definitely there will be reinforcement from the Nigerian prison. But yet they just succeed very, very quickly and swiftly.
Okay, just hold that thought. I would like to know Kemi's thoughts on this particular matter. Kemi?
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
Okay, so we're talking about the jailbreak in Owerri. And like I said, the correctional facility is very close to a police station, which was also burnt. I'm just trying to make sense of, the whole situation. How is it that these prisoners are able to get out of a correctional facility? And how is it that a police station close to that correctional facility got burnt?
Okay, thank you very much. I would say that first we need to look at the capacity of the correctional services in the first place. Most of our correctional services are old and overpopulated. So when you're looking at the correctional services, the structure, how strong is the structure, then you look at the framework around it, and then you look at the capacity of the officers that work within the correctional services. It's when we talk of overpopulation of most of the correctional services, this is one of the reasons we raise issues around overpopulation, because when a structure is holding more than it can contain, it also automatically becomes weak and vulnerable. Then you look at, when you now talk about the police station, then it's about the same thing with the police station. You ask yourself, the structure that is called the police station, what does it look like? Most of our police structures or police stations, the buildings are outdated. The design does not allow for them to be within this context that we're talking about, this lifetime. I'll put it at this lifetime. Then you talk about the capacity of the officers that are working there. When you're looking at the capacity, you're talking about training, you're talking about motivation. It's not an isolated event, I would say. It's also something that goes within a broader context, knowing fully well that we're just coming out of the NSAS situation of the NSAS protest, and we saw the way the police were also targeted during the NSAS protest. So when you have a situation whereby how many officers against the community or the society is working or have issues against a particular small sect of people, they would be easily become overrun and overpowered. Government House doesn't, I don't think it also means anything. They're all saying they're all the same structure. The prisons, the police, the government house all belong under one umbrella, which is the government. And the uprising and the issues and the protest is against government. So anything that has a government label most likely will be overrun by protesting or angry citizens. Thank you.
That was very well articulated, Kemi. So I would get back to you now, OSAJIE. You've identified, the root cause. You've identified the loopholes. I want us to speak specifically on a point that Kemi raised, which is the institutions are not well catered for. It's underfunded, and other issues surrounding our security institutions. So what are your thoughts on our security institutions? President Muhammadu Buhari recently changed the service chiefs. I don't know if it's too early for us to give a review on their performance so far, but how do you think we can tackle this insecurity, speaking specifically about how our institutions are being catered for? Security institutions particularly.
You see, sometimes people are very quick to blame the government. And for me, we need to just look at the truth, because there are levels of operational mechanism. From the strategic level, that is the strategic center of gravity, that is the government. They are releasing these fundings. Now, when government releases these fundings to various institutions, it goes to the operational level, then from the tactical, then to the tactical level. Now, these fundings, once it's been released, the government has done its part. Now, when the government has done their own part, we are expecting the leadership. We must tell ourselves the truth. The problem we're having is the leadership of the police, the leadership of the military, and the leadership of some of the institutions that feels that they have the powers within themselves to divert funds that are meant for the development of various institutions and also boosting the morale and motivations of these men. And that is why government needs to also look at certain, board of inquiry to ascertain how these funds are being spent, so that the government will not be blamed at last. Because when you release the funds, these funds must be accountable for. And I think our security agent, the leadership of our security agents, there's no trait of accountability. When we look into accountability and be holding, for example, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the IGP, hold them accountable for what is going wrong. Because you can't blame the officers, the men in the field, because definitely they are responding to authority and orders. So these funds are not getting to the roots where the money is supposed to be spent. And that's why I've been advocating for punishment. If you think you are a commanding officer, you are a Chief of Army Staff, you are an IGP, and you want to put the country at risk by diverting the funds that is meant for national development, you must be sent to jail. Because if we don't set in punishment mechanism to our leaders, even if you are done with your tenure, you are supposed to be called back to come and account in the period of time you are in office. When we put accountability into advancement in our national security, I think the state of insecurity will be mitigated.
Thank you very much. Kemi, what are your thoughts on accountability in our security institutions?
I think accountability is horizontal and vertical. And so when Mr. OSAJIE says leadership of the security institutions, they are not voted for, neither are they elected by the members of their institutions. The heads of the institutions are appointed, are identified by the government. So the first question is, what is the criteria for identifying and appointing the heads of the security institutions? Then when they are identified and appointed and they take office, is there a mechanism for ensuring coordination across these agencies so that they are seen to be working together and all the resources being pulled together? It's a totally different element when we talk about accountability as per release of funds and appropriation and how the funds are being utilized. I stand corrected. But where there is no, at the strategic level, as he has said, and I agree with him, if there is no plan that is aimed at addressing these issues, then everybody will be working in silos. And it's silos mechanism that also raises up the issue of interagency rivalry. Closely related to this is on the other side of it is over securitization of this issue. So part of the issues we have, yes, we can use military, we can use security as short-term, medium-term response. However, the governance aspect of it, which looks at dealing with unemployment, which looks at creating an enabling environment for people to work, do business, and earn tangible means of income, and looking at education, looking at freedom of expression, of association, the governance, the basic level of governance that needs to be put in place. We can't see mechanisms in place addressing that. So what we see is putting in the security agencies to address this, but they cannot do that on a long term. There is another layer under it that needs to come. Then, closely following up on accountability, is the conduct of the officers that are in the theater of action or theater of operation. How are they going about carrying out their duty? How are they going about carrying out their mandates? And layered on that is the issue of training, rules of engagement. So you see the accountability level is multiple on the part of the security agencies and also on the part of the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kemi. Thank you very much. So finally, we actually do not have more time. I wish we had more time on this particular segment. Very briefly, how do you think we can move from lip service to actually putting in structures in place to tackle this situation?
That begins from our leaders. They must lead us right, you understand? Because people learn from what they see. As a leader, you must lead us for us to understand that the direction is for the purpose of our development. I've seen situations whereby our leaders are not being good role model to the society. And that is why people feel that crime is okay, because some of the activities from our leaders certifies crime. So we must start from our leaders in powers, because I've seen a situation where some leaders are making use of talks. The use of talks simply means that you are certifying criminality. And when you certify criminality, the public believes that crime is okay. So for me, I think, like she rightly said, we need to look into an effective policies and procedures in place, because that is the problem we have, at the administrative area. That is the policies and procedures, because this is our national process assets. When we look into our national process assets and make it and put it on the run and ensure that people are held accountable for what they do in office and being punished for their offenses, definitely the state of insecurity in Nigeria will be mitigated. Thank
you so very much, DICKSON OSAJIE. I appreciate you. And to you, Kemi, thank you so much for joining us on this particular segment. A wise man once said that a secured nation is a wealthy nation. So if you really want to make Nigeria the Nigeria of our dreams, we have to make sure that we have a secured nation. This is Rubbin Minds. Don't go anywhere.